and I just follow up on. Yeah.
All right, we're streaming now.
Good morning. I'm John Hutchings, Thurston County Commissioner, and today I'm acting chair because Commissioner Blake is excused. And we'll go around the room. This is the work session, study session for July 10. And we'll go around the room and introduce ourselves.
Gary Edwards, Commissioner.
Romero Chavez, County Manager.
Labanita Bullmark, clerk of the board.
Erin Berklich, Commissioner's Assistant.
Megan Porter, Public Information Supervisor. Lisa Johnson, Administrative Assistant.
All right, and Romero, you have an extra introduction?
Yeah, and I'd like to introduce Mr. Eric Martin today. He's joined us. He's the newly appointed County Manager for Lewis County. So he's going to be spending the day with us. And I asked him to come and share this day with us, just to give an indication as to how Thurston County manages the agendas. So this morning, we'll be reviewing the agenda for today, this afternoon. We will be reviewing the agenda for next Tuesday, July 17th, as well as the agenda for the Transportation Benefit District, which July 17th. And also, we have a few items for discussion and review later today on the agenda. So welcome, Eric.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome. And take back all kinds of good stuff to Lewis County.
Okay, I'll try.
Now, we're going to work from this agenda, starting from, and so we're going to start with looking at the BoCC meeting for this afternoon for July 10th. And we'll call the meeting to order at 2 o'clock. And do we have any presentations? Oh, wait, before we get to the presentations, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Gary Edwards.
I can handle it.
Okay. Do the approvals now. Presentations. We have one from Katie Gerard from HR.
Yeah, we have an introduction of Dawn Rummer. She is the new administrative assistant on the Human Resources Department, and actually she is the assistant to Katie Gerard, the director. We also have also from Katie Gerard, the HR director, conversation and introduction of the new employment recognition program. And this is an informal recognition program. What we call is the cause for an applause, where any employee can recognize another peer via a written hand note. And she will introduce that concept to you, the program, when it's going to be implemented, as well as the cards that we're going to be using to recognize other employees.
Is that a PowerPoint presentation?
I don't believe so, Commissioner.
Okay. Good. There'll be an opportunity for the public to address the board. Are we aware or any heads up on who might be coming in with what specific issues?
You may probably have a follow-up on the Hillside Farms issue that you'd received, and yeah. And also in my commissioner's and county manager's update, I will follow up as to what the steps we have taken since you received public testimony on the Hillside Farms.
Anything regarding mineral lands, you believe?
I don't think so.
All right. And the other was the, there was another issue, was kind of minor, and I'll think of it perhaps later. Item number 3 on the agenda, consent items A through I. Is it I? L? L. Letter A, community planning and economic development resolution establishing.
Yeah, you reviewed most of these items last week, Commissioners. Item 3A is related to the community planning and economic development department, and this is just another step as to how the director is looking for ways to rearrange the existing staffing levels and find ways to better manage the workload that he has. So this particular item is related to Building Inspector 2. Currently, the department has 3 Building Inspectors 2 and 1 Senior Building Inspector. The proposal before you is to take the Senior Building Inspector, after this person who is holding the position will be retiring at later this year, to convert that into another Building Inspector 2. So the result of this action will include 4 building inspectors too. And since they already have a building services supervisor, an additional supervisor layer is not needed. This particular action will save the county just about $12,000 a year. Just to give you a historical perspective, the total 3 building inspectors too, with this proposal of 4, this is just about 40% what it used to be prior to the big recession in 2009. In 2007, we used to have close to 10. So, we have seen the economy is picking up and the permitting process picking up. So I have to give kudos to the director, Josh, to manage the workload based on the available resources that he has available to him.
Wonderful. Anything?
And hopefully through efficiencies, we won't have to see the number of employees grow quite as much.
You know,
Do
I
we
think
have a new plan
I
in
think
place?
the efficiencies that you have seen, one of them is the e-inspections. We have a pilot program where the inspections can be conducted via video, and that is going to save time. Over time, what it's going to do is going to allow us to process the inspection in a faster way. You know, we just have to see if, in fact, the workload reduces because the county is growing, as you know, and the applications are coming in. So I think what it's going to give us is to give us the opportunity to process those inspections in a faster way.
Beautiful. Before we move on to 3B, what I was trying to remember before was any public comment. Have you received any emails and such from anybody regarding the vaping and tobacco products in any county park and trails?
No, and in fact, later on your agenda is for you to consider setting the public hearing.
Okay.
To consider that change in the code. the
Right, I knew
policy.
that was coming up, but since we discussed that last week, I didn't know if we received
No,
any feedback.
we have not received any feedback yet.
Okay, 3B, approval of work session summaries for March, May, 3 in May and 1 in March.
Yes,
There's none
per-
in April?
Not yet.
Okay. Nothing remarkable about those?
No, nothing out of the ordinary.
Okay. 3C, Public
So-
Works, Increased Waste and Recovery Center Change Fund.
You also reviewed this item. The request from the department is to increase the cash from $3,200 to $3,700, an additional $500. Loomis Armor Car goes to the Waste and Recovery Center on a daily basis, but doesn't come and pick up the cash on the holidays and weekends. So since we have added an additional fee when we process credit cards at the Waste and Recovery Center, there has been an uptick on cash transactions from the public, which that requires to have additional cash available on this account just to meet the workload.
Yeah, that makes sense. Comments? All right, 3D, David, or Delta, Public Health and Social Services appointment to the Thurston County Veterans Advisory Board.
Yeah, you have not seen this proposal, so this is new, and this is a follow-up to your decision last week to appoint Ms. Lisa Narciso to the Veterans Advisory Board for the term of August 1st, 2018 to July 2021.
Okay.
Is that July 31st? So we may want to add that.
Oh, there we go. 3E, CPED, reappointment to Agriculture Advisory Committee.
Yeah, this is a reappointment to Mr. Scott Vaughn to the Agriculture Advisory Committee for the term of July 19, 2018 to July 19, 2020. And Mr. Brian Fisher for the term of April 5th, 2018 to April 5th, 2020. Both are reappointments.
3F, reappointment to Capital Area Regional Public Facilities District Board of Directors.
Is that reappointment for Mr. Chris Leet? I assume that's how you
Light.
pronounce Light. As a regional representative from the Capital Area Regional Public Facilities District. and this is ending the term of on May 5th, 2022.
Is that a?
It's a reappointment.
It's a reappointment, okay. Got it. Anything? 3G, reappointment to Solid Waste Advisory Committee, or SWAC.
Yeah, this is a reappointment of Mr. Delroy Cox, and to the waste collection. He's representing the waste collection company as part of the Thurston County Solid Waste Advisory Committee. And the appointment is from June 30, 2018 to June 30, 2021.
That's just, we follow up on a recommendation. Is that right?
That is correct.
3H, CPED again, Fair Board appointment.
This is a new appointment for to Mr. Chris Grunzo to the position number 4 of the Thurston County Fair Board. And this appointment goes from July 10, 2018 to July 10, 2022.
3I, Board of Equalization.
This is the Board of Equalization. Let me take you back to next week in the conversation. I believe some of the board's perspective is that the board would like to eliminate some nepotism in some of the boards and commissions that you oversee and appoint. And this is one of the items that relate to that particular direction. So this is a motion to remove Mr. Jeffrey Pust from the Board of Equalization effective July 10, 2018. And Mr. Pust is serving as an alternate to the Board of Equalization at this point. And down the list, you have another action for related to his wife, Ms. Diane Pust.
That's 3K.
Right. So, any questions on?
Any questions
3I.
on the removal? Okay. 3J, HR, this is appointment of, this is again Board of Equalization.
This is for the Board of Equalization. There's a new appointment for Mr. Thaddeus May II as an alternate member of the Board of Equalization with an expiration date of March 1st, 2019.
Anything on that? 3K,
Yeah, this is
BOE.
related to the 3I item, Mr. Pust, and this is an appointment of Ms. Diane Pust as a member of the Board of Equalization with a term expiration date of March 1st, 2021. You may remember that Ms. Diane Pust served as an alternate at this point.
right. Anything, Gary? And 3L, Darren Bennett's Financial Services vouchers.
Yeah, that's your weekly update to approve the voucher list.
All right. Any questions on the vouchers? Department items. Now, number 4 on the agenda, Central Services, of advertising for RFP for Criminal Justice Case Management System.
Yeah, you may recall over a month ago you had a briefing in which the Office of Public Defense, the prosecuting attorney, as well as the pretrial services, would like to consolidate on an application for managing all their cases. There was a two-phase approach. Phase 1 was to have pretrial services moving forward with their system, which is already in place. And some of the requirements of that system is to be able to speak, connect, and talk with the larger system the prosecuting attorneys and the Office of Public Defense are planning to implement. So this particular proposal before you is phase 2 to authorize the Central Services Director to go with a request for proposals to secure a criminal justice case management system for an amount not to exceed $500,000. I have to make a point of this particular action because I believe it's precedental. It's precedental as to how the Office of Public Defense as well as the Prosecuting Attorney's Office have worked together in finding a system. And also, this system has to provide a firewall between the two functions. But some of the cases may share some of the same information of the individual, so on and so forth. That by itself, I believe, is going to create efficiencies as to how they manage cases in the system.
Go ahead.
I have one question about that. You have a dollar amount of not to exceed $500,000. First of all, is that out of the general fund?
That is, no, that is already included in the budget as part of the indirect cost.
And then the second question is, sometimes when we go out for or an RFP, we don't put the monetary amount down because it kind of gives the bidders a heads up of about, we'll bid it up to here. So I'm curious how come that amount is in there now prior to going out for a bid. I mean, it's kind of a, you know, hey, we can bid it up to $10 from there or whatever. Sometimes we do it,
Yeah.
sometimes we don't, so I'm just asking why.
And the dollar amount is here is the authorization you will give to the director to negotiate up to.
Yeah,
So that is the intent. The RFQ or RFP will not go with any dollar amount. If that, but Robin has a.
They've already done some market research, so they have an idea of the ballpark of where this
okay.
will fall.
And this is the system that we talked about last week, where I asked if there was any interface or interaction between the county sheriff's office and the prosecuting attorney's office for shipping cases back and forth.
I think it's going to provide the connection. There is a larger effort, and you will see a proposal coming up to purchase a system that will serve as a hub for all the systems to come in and talk to each other. So this is one of the systems that will be part of the new approach the county's taken. And certainly the sheriff's office will be able to connect via this hub system that we're planning to implement down the road.
Thank you. Anything else on that? Item 5, Public Works, setting a public hearing.
This proposal is for you to consider setting a public hearing for Tuesday, August 7, 2018 at 3 in the afternoon in this room, for you to receive public testimony on the proposed rate increases for the Long Lake Management District and the Lake Lawrence Management District. Those proposed rates have been discussed with the advisory committees of both lakes, and they both are supportive of this proposal. As soon as you receive public testimony, then the additional rates and charges will be part of the 2018-2020 budget, and those actions will take later in the year.
Okay. 5, that's 5A. We got 5B, on-call engineering and professional consult or consultant services.
Yeah, you reviewed this item a couple of times, and this related to, for the Public Works Department to secure consultant services on that need-based approach. So the department has gone through a due diligence. They have received close to over 20 proposals and have narrowed down to 8 potential consultants.
I'm listening.
Eight consultants, and the services those consultants will provide will be in all the functions the Public Works Department will do in terms of roads, bridges, stormwater, solid waste, and utilities. So the proposal before you is to consider awarding the contract to HBL, Herrera, Environmental Consultants, KPFF, KPG, Interdisciplinary Design, OTAC, and SCJ Alliance for up to $500,000 each, and HDR Engineering Landau Associates for up to $1 million in each. And also ask for you to authorize the director to execute the extensions that are part of that contract on a yearly basis, including a 20% contingency in the event they need additional services from those consultants.
How much are we talking about total?
So the total will be $5 million overall. Thank you.
In the end, what are we gonna get for that?
So in the end, what you're getting is a expedited way to get the design information in place so we can actually start constructing those projects that we have. As you may recall, the department has a very significant workload and a significant work program, including fish passages and everything else you may consider adding. We'll continue to support the fish passage in 2019 and 2020. So all this is really just to set in the stage for the department to deliver those projects in a more efficient way, because the existing resources cannot deliver everything.
And we'll let our local newspaper of record know that we're doing this with the fish passages. confidential, I would imagine.
In fact, I think we sent a letter to the editor, perhaps highlighting the editorial that we received maybe 2 weeks ago as to what Thurston County is doing in terms of addressing fish passage. Well, hopefully that letter to the editor will be published in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, wonderful. I understand they're searching for the leadership in the state. Okay.
And you will find it here in Thurston County.
I believe so. Thank you. Item 6 on the agenda, CPAD. Approve interagency agreement with Department of Commerce, 2018 Building Lands Grant.
Yeah, this agreement with the Department of Commerce is to receive $152,000 to develop the Buildable Lands Program report that is due in July 2021. The $152,000 will be split $20,000 for county staff, and $132,000 will be a contract with the Thurston Regional Planning Council, which they will be providing and managing the development of this program. There is an opportunity for additional grant funding money, and that is the additional 35% that is requested before you.
All right, anything? We have Jeremy Davis in the house. Nothing? Okay,
I know he's on top of it.
all right, that's 6A. 6B, contract with Thurston Regional Planning Council to complete the work required for the Buildable Lands Grant. You just.
So this is related to item 6A. 6A is again, the agreement with the state, and 6B is the professional services agreement with the Thurston Regional Planning Council to deliver the services for $132,000. And also last week, you heard that it was also a 40% contingency. I changed that to 35 just to match the potential grant that might be coming down the road. So the two contracts are equal in terms of the additional 35%.
Question? Beautiful. Item number 7 on the agenda, Public Health Social Services, public hearing, smoke tobacco vape-free park preserves and trails ordinance.
Yeah, I believe this is the item that you were asking earlier today, and this is for you to consider setting a public hearing on August 14, 2018, 3 in the afternoon, room 280 here in this building, for you to consider amending the Thurston County Code, Chapter 10.76, to include provisions of the use of any tobacco products in Thurston County parks and trails and preserves. Last week, Commissioner Hutchins, you asked the question as to how the enforcement will be managed if you decide to take action on this policy. So Chris Hawkins is here to walk you through as to how the enforcement perhaps will work.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Chris.
Hi there, good morning.
Good morning.
You'll see that on that the second page of what I just handed you, first page is the ordinance draft. The second page is the portion of the Thurston County Code, the existing Parks Code, that includes a provision for how violations are treated in the parks rules. So what that says is that there is a fine that goes along with that if somebody is convicted of that misdemeanor, but a violation of the Parks Code would be considered a misdemeanor. And it would be treated the way any other parks rule violation would be. I think the Parks Department is generally approaching this particular rule, the smoking and tobacco and vape use, as an opportunity to educate folks. They're going to be utilizing some signs that we have purchased for them with our tobacco funds. So those will be posted on parks and trails, and that'll be a notice to the community, and they'll continue to reinforce that with encounters that they have with people, and we hope that the public will as well remind people that that's
Okay.
the norm and the rule for the use of our parks and trails.
Thank you. And my intent was not how are we going to enforce it. It was in the ordinance, did it prescribe some type of a civil infraction or some type of penalty to
Yeah.
it? So thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
It's not realistic to believe that county sheriff is going to go out and start monitoring and writing out tickets and arresting people. That's just not,
Right.
that's not realistic. It's not logical. not reality. But thank you for doing that research and making sure it's there for me. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And also, if the board decides to implement this new policy, there will be some additional signing. They will be posted on county parks as well as trails. And we do expect the general public will be the one who enforces peer-to-peer enforcement as we move along. So, and I think, at least from my perspective as a trail user, that seems to be the most effective way to enforce some of the rules and regulations along the trail and parks.
Education, education, education. Yep, thank you. Any
Very welcome.
comments, questions
No,
on that?
that's fine.
Thank you.
Item number 8, 8A, this is the Commissioners and County Managers items. Resolution for adopting budget amendment number 6.
For your consideration is for you to adopt the budget amendment number 6. I believe you have reviewed that proposal in detail, which includes 7 additional correction staff members. And Robin is here to give you more details if you like.
I wasn't sure that this was on today's agenda, so, I believe that this amendment, it's been a couple weeks since I looked at it, but I believe this amendment is mainly technical in nature, other than the 7 new FTEs.
Okay. Gary?
Is this gonna be this very limited verbiage that goes along with, that resolution? That's gonna suffice? I mean, it doesn't have to go into actually reading attachments A, B, and C?
I don't believe so.
No, you
good.
don't need to.
No.
Thank you, I just want to make sure, 'cause
No,
You
they're
want more to read?
extensive.
the board,
You want
the
more?
chair might be trying to trick
Probably,
me
yeah,
up.
Commissioner Airwoods is going to be spending an hour reading all of the attachments.
Yes, I did, yeah. I just wanted to make sure, get ahead
That's
of him.
fun.
They have the FTE attachment.
Yes, that's
Okay.
number C.
Thank you.
It's all attached then, nothing missing.
And it will ensure that that is the case
Yeah, I'll-
before this
I'll-
afternoon.
Please, okay, thank you. That's 8A. 8B, adoption of the 2019-2020 County Strategic Plan.
Yeah, this is a proposal for you to formally adopt the 2019-2020 Thurston County Strategic Plan.
And
And
you
I
received
believe
feedback?
you have reviewed this, you have participated in the process of the development of the strategic plan, and I believe you have received a couple of versions, and the latest includes the comments that you provided on the briefing with the consultant. The main topic of your comments, as I recall, was to soften some of the language, which the proposed draft includes that approach.
Good. Yeah.
Is there a time element that's crucial that we're doing this today versus until we have a full board?
No, there is not a crucial time. If you like to wait until you have a full board next week, we can certainly do that.
Did you receive feedback from Commissioner Blake?
Yeah, we
Okay.
received some feedback from Commissioner Blake. Yeah.
Did you have any changes or alterations,
No,
amendments?
his comment was to make sure that your comments have been incorporated.
Okay.
And again, the language includes a little bit soften the language as opposed to say will, eliminating some of that very constrictive language that.
Well, my only concern was that Commissioner Blake might be wanting to vote on this or
Okay.
whatever. That's the only reason, and I don't want to
Uh,
interfere with anything that you've got going on as far as time-wise.
Waiting a week, it will be okay.
Yeah, you want, we'll
I'm
move
kind of
this in.
glancing over
Yeah.
at Commissioner Blake's assistant, if that matters or not. I don't know. I've never talked to him about it. I'm just,
The biggest concern he had was about the language that was used in it. Those corrections were made, so.
Let's wait then. We'll pull that item.
Okay?
That is 8B.
Yeah.
All right, and that concludes the this afternoon's meeting. And we move right into the July 17th, next Tuesday's meeting. And we'll call to order on the 17th at 2 p.m. And we have a public hearing that day as well. No, we don't, but we have the TBD, the Transportation Benefit District meeting at 3:30. And then, we do have a public hearing. That'd be an action-packed day. We'll call the meeting to order and pledge of allegiance. to be led by, you want to do it twice in a row, or you want me to take it back?
I'll do it, whatever you tell me to do, sir.
Okay. We'll decide it next week, but I'll probably get it, I'll take it next week. Approval of the agenda, and then the board meeting minutes. Opportunity to address the public, it's a bit early to discern who may be coming in and why. Nothing? Nothing?
I'm not gonna guess on,
Okay.
I
it's
have
okay.
been proven wrong many times, so.
Yeah. County manager's update, same thing, we'll hear comment today
Yeah,
perhaps.
if we receive comments, I will follow up on those comments next week.
All right, and then we have consent item 3A, prosecuting attorney for a new position or reclassification.
This is the creation of a new position, the administrative assistant 2. So let me give you a little bit of history behind this request. This is related to the Thurston County Narcotics Task Force. And for years, the city of Lacey has been the fiduciary jurisdiction to manage the Thurston County Narcotics Task Force. There has been a request by the city of Lacey for Thurston County to take over that responsibility, and we have been working with the sheriff's office to make that happen. There is a staff member from the city of Lacey who has spent close to 22 years supporting this effort. And as a result of transferring the fiduciary responsibility to the sheriff's office in Thurston County, that person comes with that transfer of responsibilities. This position will not be funded by the general fund. It will be funded as it currently is through the Narcotics Task Force funding. And I believe this effort is going to create more efficiencies to how this task force is going to be managed.
Not a big additional workload for Robin or anybody else. Just,
No.
okay.
And it also, they rotate that around every few years anyway, don't they?
I don't
The
think that.
management of it?
Not on this one.
Not in this.
None?
Here, so this is-
Okay.
And is this the sheriff's office or the prosecutor's office?
Well, let me give you a little bit of feedback. It's going to the prosecutor's office because if this position was going to the sheriff's office, would have been going through the hiring process, the civil service. So by having a contract with the prosecutor's office, I think is going to create that transition better. Smooth.
Okay. All right. 3B, emergency services. Kurt Harden talking about an amendment.
Yeah, this is to approve the advanced life support amendment number 1 for the cities of Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater. And this is just to extend the existing contract from December 31st, 2019 to December 31st, 2020 with the only intent to sync with the 2-year budget cycle the county has. That's the gist of that amendment. Excuse me.
Okay, just for an extension only.
Yep.
Okay. 3C, that's the voucher list for then, for next week. We'll go through that then. Department item number 4, Public Health and Social Services, approval of a professional services agreement with contractors of employment and day services.
Let me take you back to June 26, where you approve extending the contract the county has with the Washington Department of Disabilities Administration to have another year, and also added an additional $5 million within that contract, as you may recall. This item is just to award the contract to those suppliers or providers. Those providers are really, the county does not select the providers. Those providers are qualified and selected by the state, and the county's responsibility is to make sure we pay the bills as they provide services based on an already established rate schedule. And we monitor performance on the state's behalf, and also we monitor to make sure we don't go over the budget amount. And again, as you may recall, over a 2-year period, it was close to $10 million. There has been awarded for the county, and it's both for Thurston and Mason counties to provide services to developmental disabilities individuals on both counties. And Jennifer is here to answer any questions. Did I miss anything?
I don't have
No
any questions.
questions?
No. She does a good job.
Excellent job. And my two kids are graduates of St. Mike's Dykes, and they fondly remember the DD folks that worked with them. It's just cool to hear that and see that still, and they're in their 30s. So, that's good work. Thank you, Jennifer. Number 5, Public Works, request for approval to amend professional services contract with TRPC.
We currently have a contract with TRPC to provide support on the transportation element of the comprehensive plan as we go through the normal comp plan amendment. The proposed request is to add an additional $5,000 for a total of $65,000 to include additional outreach and also to cover some of the briefings that will be coming before the board.
Okay, and TRPC is the Thurston Regional Planning Council.
That is correct.
Got it. Questions? Nope, that's done. 6, Central Services, establishing security camera policy. Martin Casey.
You had a briefing a couple of weeks ago where you reviewed the gist of this policy. This is related to the security improvements that we're going through on the courthouse campus, buildings 1, 2, and 3, where we're going to be adding over 30 cameras. And this is just to, is a policy as to how those cameras will be managed, as well as how the cameras should be replaced or maybe adding into the future. Also, as you may recall, there also includes a memorandum of understanding with a local union, just to make sure the video, as a result of the security policy, will not be used only for disciplinary actions. And so that has been already addressed with the unions.
All right, and number 7 is the Commissioner and County Manager's items. We'll deal with that next week. That concludes the July 17 Board of County Commissioners meeting. Then we'll move at 3:30 right into the Transportation Benefit District Board meeting. And we'll call that meeting to order at 3:30 in the afternoon on July 17th. And we'll approve the agenda, approve the minutes from May 15th, and give an opportunity for the public to address the board. You aware of anything regarding that?
Haven't heard anything.
Nothing?
Mm-mm.
Good. Not good, but
I know.
it's just nice to know if something we can plan for something, have information ahead of time.
For the record, can you introduce yourself?
Jennifer Walker, Public Works Director.
We're functioning? Good,
Okay.
okay. All right, item number 3, Public Works, presentation to Thurston County of the TBD, draft communication plan.
Yes, so this is following up to our last meeting that we had where you had asked us to look into reaching out to the citizens of Thurston County and getting a sense of what their thoughts were on funding a transportation benefit district. So we have a draft plan that we'll be presenting.
Gary?
Good.
All right, and 3B, Public Works again, pavement preservation program.
Yes, so last time we spoke about the funding part of the TBD, and now we're moving into the specifics, the pavement preservation program. And so we'll have a presentation from staff on the condition of the road, some examples of deterioration, what that looks like, and then what we could do with a funded TBD.
Alligator cracking.
Yes.
That is pretty cool. I was flipping through and I thought, did I see an alligator? Or is that the road? But there's
Both.
That is pretty cool. That's clever.
Everybody can recognize it.
Oh, heck, yeah. Anything regarding that?
No.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
And then we will adjourn that meeting at 4:30-ish, and then move into public hearing at 5:30. Jeremy Davis is going to talk about buildings, Title 14 buildings and construction.
Yeah, you will receive testimony on the proposed changes and amendments to the building and construction regulation of Title 14. And for your consideration, at that time, you will have the two options to close the public hearing. And depending on the public testimony that you receive, you may consider approving the amendments the same date. But if the public testimony is such, you can delay that action and discuss what you've heard at a later date. And Jeremy's here to answer any questions.
I don't think so.
Anything to add? No?
Got one comment.
Oh, good. Thank you, Jeremy. That concludes July 17th's day, ending with that public hearing. And now we're going back to the commissioner's agenda for today. Tick those off. Proclamations and awards. Any proclamations or awards?
No, sir, there are none.
Oh, beautiful. Briefing, public hearing, decisions pending?
No.
Nope. Legislative update? Nope. Let's look and see. Let me look in the audience. No, they're not here yet. Oh, we're still early. All right, let's do the PIO check-in. Wait.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Just waiting for my thing to open up real quick. So the Hazardous Weather Task Force, we're working on setting up a website for that. I've drafted the language and it's with Commissioner Blake's assistant at this time. And then we'll pass that on to Public Health because it will be housed under the Homeless and Housing unit in Public Health. So that's on its way. The second Citizen Advisory Committee meeting for the Courthouse and Civic Center project is scheduled for Thursday, July 26th, 3 to 4:30 p.m. in this room. I am working on drafting a news release that talks about the Courthouse and Civic Center project, gives a little background, and provides this date and time to the public. That's something that the advisory committee wanted us to do, was to start advertising their meeting dates and times so the public know that they can come and observe and provide input to them as well.
Will that be in this room?
It will be in this.
Downstairs?
It will be in this room.
In this room? Okay.
Yeah.
And is
And
that is it live streamed or is it on?
it's not.
Okay.
It's not. And I don't know if they'll continue to hold the meetings in these rooms. This is just the second meeting. They haven't selected a chairperson yet. So once they select a chairperson and someone to staff the meetings, they may hold them other places. We're just kind of helping at this point to get them moving forward.
So it may move around the county.
It may move to different
Okay.
parts, yes. Yeah, but we will help continue to advertise for them to let the county, let the citizens know where those meetings are.
Thank you.
You may be seeing fair news releases. Yes, Commissioner. No, you're not Commissioner.
No.
Romero.
Wow.
Oh, God. You're going to kill me. Related to that, I attended the first meeting with the advisory group, and it was a good interaction, and there was a lot of questions, and also there was a request. I brought this to your attention last week, that they would like to have a formal appointment by the board to all those members. I think there is, I explained to them, is there's a little bit of a fine line for you to appoint directly, formally to those members, because the good deed may become, doesn't go unpunished, meaning that you may be put in the position that you had handpicked those individuals of this group. And I think at this point it's just have an opportunity for them to see how the rules of engagement of their meetings will go, and provide an honest perspective to the project and the next steps as we move forward on this, on the new courthouse. So I relayed that to Mr. Doug Ma. He was the one who was lobbying for that, or suggesting that. But at the same time, Rick and I are going to be drafting for your consideration prior to the next meeting a charter statement. And I think that will be good for you to develop a charter statement for the group as to what is your expectations, at least at that level. So that is coming up.
And are we calling it a group? Or are we calling it ad hoc? Are we calling it advisory? Or what are we calling it?
A group,
A group? Okay.
an advisory, citizens advisory group.
Yes.
Okay.
Although they may want to change themselves, how they.
All right,
They
but
like
we're
to
not
see that.
formally appointing anybody, because I can see where that could have some inherent issues
Yeah.
attached with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
That's it?
No, I have other
Oh,
stuff.
good, good. Okay.
So you probably have seen some of the fair news releases coming out. Thurston County Fair is August 1st through August 5th. Wanted to put a little plug in for that. But I also wanted to give a little shout out and thank you to Thurston Talk, because they have been posting every single one of our fair news releases, along with a lot of our county news releases. So I just wanted to say thank you that they're putting that out there. And then just as a heads up, beginning Thursday, I'm out of the office until the 23rd. Brian will be here, and so he will be point of contact.
Did you allow that, Romero? You allowed that? Really? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, we miss you when you're out. We do. And thank you for making that shout out, giving that shout out to the county fair. First full week of August. And the chicken is the mascot?
Yes.
It's Henrietta Hen.
Henrietta Hen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the pancake breakfast.
Oh, the pancake breakfast is Saturday at 8:30. What time is it?
No, it's 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
And
This-
where the volunteers need to show up at 7 to help
Yes.
set up.
Any
And
of
this is
our
an
volunteers.
event open to the community where
Mm-hmm.
you and other elected officials will have the opportunity to serve pancakes and coffee to the citizens who would like to come and visit.
Yep, and we'll be cooking, serving, cleaning up, all that stuff.
Yep.
It's open to the public. And lots of information will go out. And Thurston Talks is, you say, doing some good work on that. And we're sending stuff to our newspaper of County Record or whatever.
As of yet, I don't know that. But Brian will talk a little bit about the pancake breakfast
Okay.
How did I steal your thunder?
Go ahead, Brian, are you done? All right.
All right, good morning, everyone. So last week, on July 2nd, we purchased something called Constant Contact. It's an email subscription service. It allows people to subscribe to receive updates directly from us. And in the last week, we've had 59 subscribers, so it's pretty successful. We're getting the word out there. And this will, what they'll receive here is they'll get our external newsletter. Anytime we post anything to the county news site, they'll receive that as well. And then they can opt in to receive like news releases that go out and anything like that. So it's just helping them stay informed, an easier way to stay informed what the county's doing without having to go to the site and find it.
Before we
Yes.
go on, is that just one dimension? Is just outgoing? Or do we receive feedback or input from the public on that?
So we can't receive feedback through the subscription, so they can't like reply to the email and me see that. But we have other avenues for them to communicate with us via social media, and then our contact information is on the website, so they can reach us that way too. So we've had, and with the launch of that, we've had 42 new likes on Facebook in the last week. That's largely due to the videos we've been doing with the directors. We had the public defense video go out last week, and that was very successful. And all of them have been very successful. So yeah, we're continuing to work on that. Next one to go out will be human resources. We're working on editing the video a little bit. I continue to work with all the directors. But we have 3 more videos, and once those are all out, we'll have them on the website as well and provide that to the public. For the fair, I'm working with Kelly, Commissioner Hutchings' assistant, on promotional materials for the pancake breakfast. We're looking at utilizing social media, utilizing the Constant Contact platform, maybe doing something with video, but I'll be meeting with her tomorrow to talk about what some of those options are, just to spread the word about the fair and the pancake breakfast, outside of what we're already doing with the news releases.
Already the 9th. That needs to get out.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, thank you. Anything else?
And then we have the next Thurston County Connection episode on county parks and trails. That will be that should be going out sometime next week, depending on the editing process. But it's moving along.
Good, okay.
Pending any questions, that's all I have.
Anything else from PIO? Nothing? That's it? All right, enjoy your vacation. Commissioners check-in. We've got a few items here. Advisory boards and commissions, there was nothing, right?
I
Item
think
number
there's a
4.
couple follow-ups. Maybe we can call Bonita back to see if she has any items for you.
Yeah, just let us know if she does or doesn't. And let's go to the VCB letter.
Yeah, on June 22nd, I received, you received via me, you have a copy of that letter. Although the letter says April, actually it was June 22nd when we received that letter. Where, first of all, the Shauna Stewart, the executive of the Olympia and Beyond experience, which is the Visitors and Convention Bureau, thanking you for the support the board has provided to that organization in 2019 and 2020 for $30,000 each year. And also is encourage you to you consider the same level of support for the years 2019 and 2020 as you discuss the budget for the upcoming biennium. So I will give you a couple of minutes for you to read that letter. If you have any questions, I can follow up.
All right.
So about decisions at this point, commissioners, on this particular request, but certainly next week, as part of the agenda setting, I will have an item as to what will be the commissioners' budget priorities moving forward into 2019, 2020. And hopefully next week, we will not be discussing the specific dollar amounts. It's just, anything that you would like to support, and have Robin coming back with some options for you.
And is that a move good to go from 30 to 45? Is that it per year?
Yeah, looks like
Yeah.
Per year?
I like the first bullet, though, making the region more attractive for business investment and talent recruitment for economic development. BCB doing that.
What are other jurisdictions putting it?
I am not sure, but I can certainly follow up with Shauna.
Yeah.
So other jurisdictions to get, I don't have specific dollar amounts, but I know that other jurisdictions contribute most, if not all, of their tourism promotion area dollars to the VCB.
And where would, if we were to do this, where would that money come from?
This is general fund money for us.
Is there tourism dollars or something that can come out of another fund? It seems to me there is another fund that
We-
is legal to access.
We have what's called LTAC dollars.
Yes.
You chair
Right.
that committee. And the VCB is absolutely eligible to apply for those funds, but they would be one of many applicants. And then the LTAC board could decide. And LTAC stands for Lodging Tax Advisory Committee.
Do you know if they've ever applied in the past?
I don't recall offhand. At one point in time, the county did use the fund that the LTAC money is in to pay the VCB. However, with the legislative change a few years back that created the advisory committee and the new state laws that surround that, at that time, we had to change the way we were doing business, and the VCB would now have to come in and apply for that money and go through that application process.
I guess I'd just like to say that maybe as the county manager talks with Shauna, that you could mention that if the intent is bump it, I mean, I think everybody, I'm supportive of their goal and funding their activity. But money's tight, and so if we were gonna bump it 50, maybe a better way to do it would be apply through that process and see if we couldn't award some money that way. So just a
Yeah,
suggestion.
I'll follow up with Shauna and give you some information as to what other jurisdictions are contributing to this effort, and also give an option to apply for the opportunities for grant.
We should have the budget. Did you attend the Monday afternoon meeting of this board where they discussed the budget?
No.
No. So we should be able to get a copy of that budget, though, because you're an ex officio member of that board where their budget is discussed and decided upon. So you should be able to get a copy of that from Shauna.
Okay.
I'll follow up.
And I'm supportive also of the VCB, hugely supportive of it. But when I see, is it 30,000 plus the 15 for the biennium, is it arbitrarily that dollar figure, or is it based on per capita, or based on any other data?
We would have to ask her.
Yeah, it is just an ask.
I think it's the same with the other jurisdictions, based on something.
Yeah, I would assume it was just an increase of 50% of the previous allocation. That's the only conclusion that I can have at this point.
And I didn't, I attended the VCB meeting, like last week, but not a budgetary one.
I had seen a notice from them that the main topic at their next meeting was supposed to be the budget, so that I'm not sure.
And I had another engagement right after that, and I left about 30 minutes early. I may have missed that piece.
We'll
I'm
get
looking forward to, they're
we'll get
also
a copy.
reappointing someone to the board.
We'll get a copy of the
We can
budget.
get a copy.
Okay.
Again, I believe that what the cities contribute is the majority of their LTAC funds.
Okay. Did you hear back from La Bonita?
Yes. So she does not have anything to report on the boards and commissions, but she did want to make sure that you knew that she has provided me with information to start sending out social media posts about the vacancies, because there are a number of boards, commission committees that do not have, or that have a couple vacancies on them. So we're going to start promoting those through social media.
Okay. All right, thank you. Well, I tell you what, the other folks aren't here yet that we're expecting to come in, so it's close enough to call it 10 o'clock. You want to take a 10-minute break, or is there something else you want to bang up first?
I have a couple of emails that I'd like to read to you that are not
Okay.
included on your agenda, that we just received yesterday.
All right.
And both emails are from Ms. Phyllis Farrell, and one states as follows. I attended the Board of County Commissioners meeting on June 5th, and I was pleased to hear about Thurston County's effort in removing and replacing culverts that hindered fish passage. It is my understanding that you allocated $4 million in the 2017, 2019, I think she meant 2017, 2018 budget for this effort, and we will continue to consider a similar amount for the 2019-2020 budget. I was glad to hear Thurston County considers this work as a priority effort and not as a secondary activity and associated with the transportation project as any other county is doing. Thank you for your commitment to salmon recovery efforts. It is appreciated. Respectfully, Ms. Phyllis Farrell.
That's nice. She's received the message. We just need to make sure our county record newspaper, whatever gets the message to you. But that's very nice from Ms. Farrell. Thank you.
And she also, another email says she was pleased to see on July 3rd the board supported the adoption of the regional plan to reduce the greenhouse emissions 45% below the 2015 levels by 2030 and 85% below the 2015 levels by 2050. This regional approach makes sense. To have a regional approach to improve air quality and also to combat the effects of global climate change. It is so important to consider combating the long-term effects of our current GHG trajectory.
What's that?
I have no idea.
Greenhouse
Greenhouse.
Okay.
Greenhouse gas.
Greenhouse.
gas,
So,
okay.
okay.
Thank you.
So that's all I have to report on that.
Beautiful, thank you. Fish and Wildlife, Janice. Yeah, that'll take more time. So let's go ahead, it's 10:01, let's take a break, come back at 10:11. It gives you a full 10 minutes. 10:11,
Please turn your microphones off.
thank you. All right, welcome back. And we're going to move on with the agenda. Only a couple items left. We'll start with the Janus Supreme Court decision discussion. No decisions, just discussions.
It's just a discussion, and Commissioner Hutchins,
Thank you, Eric.
right on time.
That's the fella.
Yep. So this is a follow-up to Commissioner Hutchins asking the question, what it will be the impacts on the U.S. Supreme Court decision related to public agency unions and associated fees. And this letter is what we got from the Washington State Council of County City Employees. And there is 17 county employees that may be affected by this decision. And this letter, as you will read it, said that the county needs to stop collecting those fees. And it's twofold. Individuals pay a full fee membership on the union; those are not being affected. But those individuals, they just pay a nominal fee, not necessarily the full fee. Those will be affected, and those are included in this letter. This is the initial impact of that decision. And moving down the road, we just have to see how any other union members may choose or may not to continue paying the fees of union memberships. So that is still yet to be seen, the overall impact of this Supreme Court decision. But this is, again, the first step of the impact.
And so far, go ahead, Gary.
Go ahead.
So far, this is the only list of folks that are implicated or
Affected.
affected by it.
Immediately, yeah.
So they've chosen to opt out.
And those individuals that have chosen not to pay the full fee, just paying a nominal fee to continue to have the benefits of any contract negotiations.
Okay.
And that, I believe, that was the pivotal decision by the Supreme Court that those cannot be allowed. And so, again, this is the first step, and also whether other individuals may choose not to be part of a union contract. Now they have the ability to do so, whether they can choose or not. And that is really also the second aspect of my understanding of the U.S. Supreme Court decision.
And in a prior life, when this type of issue came up, I saw some harassment or retaliation against folks that wanted to opt out. And I'm just offering this. I hope that they're aware of their alternatives, where they can go, their resources for assistance if that kind of stuff happens, and or supervisors being aware of it as well.
Yeah, we continue to work with human resources, and there's a lot of interest in, as I learned from individuals, as to what has changed for the union memberships. So, and again, I think it's going to be a period of time in which some of the union members may absorb what the options they have, and at that point they may take an action on that.
Okay. Gary?
Who's legal counsel? I mean, who are you running this by from a legal perspective?
Really,
County
it's
level yet? Or
this is, we just got from
this is just brand new.
from
so
this
you haven't
brand new
had time
stuff.
to
It's a
review?
brand new stuff, and this is the first step that we receive from the state as to the ones that have been affected immediately as a result of this. There's other stuff that
Yes, there's more coming.
more is coming. Yeah.
Okay.
So the long-term consequences yet to be seen.
All right. Anything further on that? Anything further on that, Romero?
No.
Okay. Number 3 on the agenda here, work session rather, the agenda is the Washington Fish and Wildlife Land Acquisition, discussion and or action. And we're expecting EDC?
Hello. I think the Michael Cade was coming.
They don't appear to be here yet.
Not yet. That's only almost 20 after all.
So we'd like to take a break, or
You want to take a break, or do you have any other issues, any kind of commissioner items you want to bring up?
No, not right now.
All right, we're going to take a break then. It's
Adjourn?
10 after, it's 20 after. We can do it until he comes, until he shows up, so it might be 10 minutes. All right.
Recess.
We're in a recess. Okay, go out and play. Thank you.
We met once before, a long time.
You get a countdown? Oh, there we go. We're on? We're not. There we are. All right, welcome back from recess. We're going to go into the final agenda item, and that's the Washington Fish and Wildlife Land Acquisition Discussion and/or Action. And Romero, would you
Yeah,
like to go
this
ahead and
is,
frame this?
Commissioners, I brought this to your attention last week, and where the Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife is planning to apply for a grant from the Washington Department of, from the Washington Wildlife and Recreation Program, WWRP, to purchase land. I think the first phase includes 1,700 acres in the vicinity of the Tenino area. Through that conversation, as you read on the attachment, there is some pocket gopher habitat that perhaps the county may like to partner on this particular endeavor. And you asked me to coordinate, and thank you all for coming, and to have a conversation with the Washington State Fish and Wildlife. The mayor from Tenino is here. Thank you very much. And as well as the property owner, I believe, is also present. Dr. Burnett is also with us. So really, the gist of this conversation is not necessarily, as I understand, to stop this endeavor, but also how the county can partner as to how we can benefit from this acquisition, as well as we can have some credits related to the pocket gopher habitat. As you know, there is not much land available for pocket gopher habitat, and as Commissioner Edwards stated last week, it is important for us to be cognizant of every single purchase so we don't miss an opportunity for the county to take an advantage of those credits. Also, this particular purchase is related to an economic development component, and Aslan is here from the EDC, and he can speak more related to that effort. So I made a request for some of the parties to join at the table, Commissioner, so we can engage that conversation.
Please come up. Larry and Brian, Aslan, and the mayor. You want the mayor up here? And the city manager, John Millard. Or did I pronounce it right? No. Yes?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And Perry Shea from SCG Alliance should be here within 3 minutes. So.
Oh, let's take a recess. Not. Yeah.
How about Josh?
And Josh. You want Josh at the
Yes,
table?
please.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. Do we have extra microphonage? We have one.
Do we have anything we can put in the middle of the table? No, we don't.
The directional?
No.
This is 2018.
So I may ask you, to whomever wants to have the floor, to circulate the microphone so we capture, because this is live stream.
Because we're on
So-
TV, or on YouTube, or FaceTube, so.
Mayor Fournier said if you put the mic in front of him, he'll just repeat everything that everyone says.
Paraphrase.
You guys can put this between the two of you and just hand this back and forth, really.
Commissioner, maybe for the record, to go with
We're gonna do
formal
that.
introductions.
All right, by way of introduction, we've already done our introduction. We'll start with Aslan here. Go ahead, Aslan, introduce yourself.
Aslan Mead, the Thurston Economic Development Council.
Wayne Fournier, Tenino Mayor.
John Millard, Clerk Treasurer, City of Tenino.
Joshua Cummings, Director of Community Planning and Economic Development, Thurston County.
So good afternoon, Larry Phillips. I'm the Regional Director for State Fish and Wildlife, Region 6, Coastal Region.
Brian Calkins, I'm the Wildlife Area Manager, Wildlife Program Manager with Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife.
And thank you, folks, all of you for being here. Greatly appreciate you being here. And we have another chair up here, Perry.
We just went by introduction, so.
Yep. And
You're
you're
out of time,
on
Perry.
live stream, Perry. Live stream and drop the mic.
Just say your name.
Perry Shea, I'm here representing the Thurston EDC. I'm the president of the board.
Okay.
Thank you.
And you're sharing that mic.
So maybe Commissioner, if you may, I can probably ask representatives from the Washington Fish and Wildlife to give us an overview of the purchase of what is the intended purposes, what is objectives, and then maybe we can entertain, from the EDC as well as from the city of Tenino, how they are participating on this endeavor, and hopefully at the end we can have a conversation as to how the county can partner on this as well.
All right.
Yeah, thank you for that. So WDFW has a fairly large portfolio of lands across the state. Those lands are acquired or purchased for a variety of different reasons, but primarily for conservation and recreational opportunity. Outdoor recreation's a billion-dollar industry in the state. Lots of people travel from all around for hunting, fishing, and outdoor recreation. So we're always looking for ways to improve that quality of life and support those types of opportunities that certainly benefit local economies and the quality of life here in the state of Washington. So when this particular property came open, and we use a process called our Lands 2020 process. It's about a 28-step process, give or take a few, but it's the intent of the process is to be inclusive in conversation with local communities and make sure that we are consistent in hearing the support or opposition or just having discussions about exactly what we're doing here today. The potential for partnerships and the potential to work together to make sure that when we move forward on a property that it meets the community needs. And so we're excited to be here, appreciate the opportunity. I'm not sure how we missed base here. Part of the RCO process requires us to reach out far in advance. This proposal actually came through a couple of years ago, and Brian tells me we sent a letter at that point, and then we sent another letter in April, or was it an email? I'm not sure, but then I contacted the county, and so I'm glad we did that. So again, I apologize, and now we exchanged emails, so there's no more of that, but we'll make sure we're ahead of that one from here on out.
Could I clarify something?
Okay.
You said you purchased property periodically for public good. How do you purchase that? Is that donated money? Is it
There's a variety.
Or how?
Yeah,
how
appreciate
do you end
that.
up with the funding source to carry out your mission?
Yeah, there's a variety of different sources for. We certainly have land donated to the agency, but we use both state and federal grants. And Brian probably knows a lot more about that. But
I guess what I'm trying to clarify, they are tax dollars when you talk about purchasing with tax dollars. I'm trying to think if you got a tree that grows money or if it's not. That's kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah, so on the grants that we apply for, I would say almost all of them involve tax dollars, either state or federal.
Very good, thank you.
So this particular property is very unique, as you well know. It's located in South Puget Sound, and it's got a lot of what we think is opportunity for both conservation and recreation. And we recently met with the city of Tenino and had an excellent conversation about some of the potential partnership or adjustments we could make to our approach that would meet the city's needs and I think joint conservation opportunities. So I think we're in a pretty good spot there. This is still at the very initial phase of this RCO looking for funding, but it certainly, if we step back from this and look at properties that have been funded in the past, this fits the criteria nicely.
And for people watching and listening, RCO?
Recreation and Conservation Office. It's under the governor's. And so certainly I encourage anyone to go to our website and also the Recreation and Conservation Office website, and they can get some information specifically about the process and the timeline and the constraints maybe on when and where those monies come from and how those lands are used once they're funded.
And just for a moment to again to frame it a little bit, is that this meeting is for discussion purposes, but the county doesn't hasten it, we don't approve it, we don't disapprove it. You're just notifying us, and so now we're looking to see how we can partner together for everybody's gain. Is that correct?
So I'll take that one if I
didn't want to cut
can.
the mayor off. Did you have something to add?
I try to understand where that money comes from as well, and my basic understanding is like a lot of the RCO funds come from federal dollars from the Land Water Conservation Fund, right? And that's, you know, they put out oil refineries in the middle of the ocean, and a portion of the monies that go to that have to be dedicated to this large, large fund of federal money that was designated by Truman or something like that to create lands just like this. So Washington is trying to get their, their hand in
Fair
there.
share.
Yeah, to get their fair share. And I like having the opportunity to talk about doing it in Tenino and Thurston County.
And just, this is Aslan, just to add a piece to that, they'll get into this more, but I'm going to say that it's not all tax dollars and grant dollars. They're also looking at partnering with other organizations that may be potentially bringing in funds to find all the money for the land. So
Okay.
Right. So to get to your question, one of the requirements, and it's been a requirement, but it's more stringent now, and I actually think it's a good thing, is that we confer with local governments on the grants that we submit to them. So we're required to notify you of the grant, and hopefully we hear back. And in this case and in others, we were trying to do our darndest to make sure that we were having a conversation like this. So your answer is correct. You don't approve or disapprove of our proposal. That's up to RCO and the legislature. But you can, the county can, as it said in our letter, submit a letter to RCO outlining any concerns you have or support, and we'd love to have that, and that's why we're here today.
Can I follow up on that comment? Just to clarify something, Brian, we got this letter. Now, what happened to it along the way, we don't know. There's always mix-ups. But we were having this conversation on the 3rd of July, and what really got our concern peaked, I guess, was the fact that it said that we needed to complete this prior to July 6th. So I just want to make sure that we're not on a hard, fast deadline, that we do have time to communicate and get some things done. And I understand maybe that's been changed.
That's correct. First of all, our deadline to get our grant submitted, which is when we prefer to have letters of support, has been pushed back to, I believe it's the 16th.
Okay. Yes, sir.
And, but you can send a letter to RCO at any time. And they will make sure that it's included in their capital budget package to fund these grants, that ultimately makes its way to the legislature, so that is part of the record.
In addition to that, Brian and I are required to, when we go back, to fill out some paperwork that talks about the concerns that were brought up by the county, and we'll make sure that we document that as well. So, which we did with the city of Tenino as well. So, I just think there's an opportunity here. I get that, we're not here to request a formal approval that says this is a wonderful idea, and we fully support that. We certainly understand that the county has been working hard with the service and with our staff as well on the challenges that are associated with recovering the pocket gopher and other species, and so we're aware and we're very sensitive of that. We think there's a real opportunity here. Ultimately, the goal here is delisting for us and for the people of the state of Washington that would certainly improve our ability, our latitude to make decisions about land use. So.
We'll get Romero in.
Yeah, I don't know if you mentioned the RCO grant. How much money you are planning to request from this grant?
For this
I'm just-
project or all of Fish and Wildlife?
I mean, just for this project. Yeah.
So maybe if you look at the map in front of you, obviously there's the total property is 1,700 acres, and Brian, you can jump in here any second. But the small piece to the right, if you're looking at upwards at the map, the two parcels there have been removed from our proposal for an RCO grant. Those properties are within the city of Tenino's growth area. And also the properties to the left were also removed from the original RCO grant proposal, that one that we are thinking we will move forward with at this point. And that includes removal of the properties in the center for the potential of some industrial opportunity there. So at this point, we haven't had a formal appraisal done on the property, so I can't really tell you exactly where we're at with the dollar amount, but from our perspective right now, we would be looking for an RCO grant to cover the the portion of the property that's in the center that's outlined with the yellow and red boundary.
And about how many acres is that?
Is it 900?
It's about 900.
Okay.
And I think I have the right answer to your question. But I believe the dollar figure that we have in this grant is $4 million. And whether that's enough money to buy what is outlined in yellow on the map remains to be seen following an appraisal.
Can you say that the number again?
I believe it's $4 million. I'm not certain. I didn't look that up last night and put it in my memory bank.
And he also mentioned there's other partners. Without getting into the financial contribution from the partners, who are the partners in terms of looking holistically?
We haven't identified. I mean, we work with a variety of different NGOs and the federal government, Section 6 potentially down the road. If this land if RCO purchases this land, there's some opportunity to use that as match, potentially. We're certainly, we're in the initial stages of this, so there's the Thurston County as a partner. We think there's an opportunity there. We'll just have to see what all that looks like. But that would be excellent if we could.
When will you hear about the RCO grant?
So our final presentation, which is done in person to RCO, is I believe it's the first week of August or the first full week of August. Then their scoring panel goes back and scores all the projects that we're competing against in ours as well, and then we find out if we're above their proposed funding line or not. And that should come out in September or October, I believe, that scoring. That's no guarantee of getting a grant because their package has to be approved by the legislature.
So that will be, the formal approval will be at the end of the legislative session next year.
Yeah, so it would be a part of the capital budget.
Yeah, I guess what I would ask as this process moves forward, when you've mentioned already, Larry, specifically that we're working on the whole gopher concept, but even if it was delisted, there's probably more to it than just the gopher, and it comes down to the total prairie species process, and so it'd be several other species that we would be interested in protecting at the same time. So I think some of the things maybe we need to have clarified is, and I'm going to refer just to a draft I'm working on our HCP. It makes reference in there that maybe we can't receive mitigation benefits from tax dollars that are purchased from the state level or maybe the federal level. Those are things that are in question at this point. So we need to have some clarification there. But I believe, and I'm not speaking for the board, I can only say I believe the board is interested in not only protecting the minimum amount of property that we need to do for prairie species habitat, but if we can partner and do twice as much than the minimum or 3 times as much as the minimum, but we have to get over little hurdles like, well, you can't use this funding or this funding. And the reason I'm going there is because I mean, some of this we've talked about, but the public should also know that when you set aside 1 acre or 10 acres of habitat for, and I'll use the Mazama pocket gopher specifically because that's what the studies that I've been referring to talk about, that really does no good to perpetuate the species. You need at least 50 acres of property before the species can continue on forever, I guess. So the idea that we would be limited to picking up 20 acres here and 10 here and doing that type of spot purchases around Thurston County, it might meet the letter of the law, but it really doesn't solve the problem if we're really talking about species protection. So that's kind of what I think piqued our interest right away, was when it said this property includes 720 acres of prairie pasture that are considered vitally important for the recovery of the Mazama pocket gopher. Well, those are exactly the kind of properties that we're looking for to not only meet the requirement of our HCP and our federal partners, but to work with you folks as well and put together a total package that makes sense for maybe not only delisting, okay, maybe we'll get it delisted at some point, but we're still gonna have the meadowlark and the frog and the, you know,
Butterfly.
other things that are, I think there was 14 potentials in our HCP that we're working on that we need to be concerned about. So as long as we have a big enough property, and we have already identified a funding source potentially through the board, and that is Conservation Futures. And that's kind of what Conservation Futures are all about, is to protect those sensitive and critical areas. So that's what really piqued our interest. We didn't want this thing to go through, you know, on the 6th of July, which gave us, you know, one working day from the time we got the notification that it was taking place. And then it says that you must confer with local officials, and I know that was a mistake, so I'm not pointing any fingers or anything, but we would like to continue this dialogue. So right away, I mean, you're saying, well, maybe we might fit that grant proposal for that $4 million. Well, but if we can partner up with you, and so there might be some debate at some point about, well, the pocket gopher per se is maybe in the higher ground, or in the lower ground, in the prairie ground, and maybe not the higher ground, so maybe we could buy the lower ground, maybe you'd buy the higher ground, and we would be protecting things during this process. I'm not the one, so I can't call on you, Mr. Mayor, but I can let the chair know.
Yeah, I was gonna head to you anyway, Mayor, go
I'm
ahead.
still trying to understand how mitigation works, but in my understanding conceptually, you know, right now, there's no mitigation occurring. It's just land sitting there. And if these folks purchase it and put it and create a mitigation bank, then that creates the opportunity for you to buy into it. Right?
Well, no, that's not true. I want to clarify that, because currently it refers to federally or state purchased with tax dollars, purchased property cannot be utilized. It specifically cannot be utilized to mitigate for the county.
In the HCP that you are creating
that's
at the
right,
county level.
in our HCP. So
Can you
this
strike
ends
that?
up, pardon?
Can't you just strike that?
Well, I don't.
It's your
I'm
rules.
not
You're
sure.
You're hamstringing yourself.
No, it is not our rules. No,
Yeah.
we're abiding by rules that are passed on down to us by both federal and state entities. So we would like to be able to scratch that out, but that's not the way it is in reality. So maybe Larry.
So yeah, a couple things. I would say I appreciate, first of all, again, I apologize for the lack of time on this. When we originally sent the letter, that's just the letter I re-forwarded to in April, so it still says April on it. I want to make sure that you know that, and the good news is we've exchanged contact, and now we're going to stay in touch. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we're beyond that. So I also appreciate the fact that when we as an agency work toward developing recovery efforts or goals or plans for any species or ecosystems, we don't look at delisting as the goal. So obviously that's the minimum goal that we want to achieve to help us as an agency move forward and help us work toward resuming responsible land management. And so I really appreciate what you just said about making this be the goal being healthy populations. I think that's what ultimately the goal is for everyone.
Not minimum.
Exactly. And I just want to, our staff and service staff and your staff are working very hard on this HCP. So we're looking forward to better understanding the details of that and how we can jointly work together to identify these types of opportunities to move forward in a way that meets the exactly what you're talking about.
And were you going to weigh in? But I do want to hear from Mayor Fournier as to how the partnership's going.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to start there or if you want to jump in EDC.
I can dive in briefly.
Okay.
These guys have been excellent. You know, we initially, you know, we were notified April 24th. I think we got the email with the notice that, yeah, and we got it. So, and we initially were like, you know, it was a shocker because it was like this what is going to happen here has been the big question for, you know, my lifetime, and it has been a big question for the last, you know, 15 years in Tenino, and Tenino put a bunch of resources into, you know, kind of managing what development would go on there as seen in, you know, 2007 or as dreamed up in 2007, and we've kind of been on that path, realizing it was a bad path, probably about 6-7 years ago, and so really not knowing what was going to happen, and nobody, maybe some people, but most people really appreciate the land as it sits because it kind of you know, as you enter into Tenino, you've got the Colvin property on one side, and then you've got the Barnett property on the other side, and it kind of defines Tenino, and it is the entrance to Tenino, and it really plays into who we are. And so what is going to happen out here has been a big concern to everybody for a long time. And we initially got their proposal, and we were, you know, kind of shocked, kind of, you know, didn't know what to think, and then, you know, kind of reluctant and had reservations because we have so much of it tied into our economic development plans and our growth plans. So we kind of, you know, huddled together, made our notes, collaborated with the EDC, and met with them, and we had a list of our concerns, and with no idea how it's going to go when we start, you know, talking about our concerns with water, our concerns with growth, our concerns with kind of the whole culture of our community. And they have been extremely candid and workable, and you know, they've been great to work with. And we were a little surprised because, you know, I mean, you guys are great, but I mean, it was like, oh, scary fish and wildlife, you know, they take away deer from Rochester, you know, and so, yeah, so, you know, we were,
wow.
but not a bad experience. So, and I really believe there's an opportunity for the county, there's an opportunity for Tenino, and one of our local landowners to kind of, you know, write a new chapter and do it in a way that I feel is going to provide a lot of benefit in a lot of different ways to all involved. So I would encourage you guys to work with them because they've been very, very easy to work with.
Okay. Thank you. EDC, here we go.
All right. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I appreciate the commissioners having this meeting to get more clarity and understanding of this proposal. And I would second the mayor's comments. We had a very productive meeting in early June regarding this initial concept, and the map that we saw at that time looks different than what you're seeing today. And that meeting, through that meeting in the back and forth, the boundary was adjusted to help address those concerns dealing with, you know, that the city raised. One around development opportunity. This is a significant portion of their future growth for the town. It's called West, you know, Tenino or West Tenino, and several hundred acres are within the corporate limits. And so there was a genuine concern about what would that mean to the city and its growth opportunity and potential over time. What would that mean to then not have the water availability, you know, for the land? And so we talked about an area to be carved out, like Lemon Hill, which is on the right side on the graphic, that used to be in yellow, is now not in yellow. And that's future residential opportunity that's adjacent, contiguous to the city and within its corporate limits. Another important piece was the little section, I'll say not quite in the middle, but carved out where the current alpaca farm operations exist. That's about 50 acres. That's not included, and that's it's already built. It's an operating and running business. And that was also a location where the Thurston EDC and the City of Tenino have been working over the last 2 years to advance an opportunity for an agricultural and innovation business park in this southwest part of the county. We're currently looking at that particular park across the street adjacent to the city's treatment plant at this point. But we wanted the flexibility for that land to be able to be developed over time as a job-based opportunity for family wage jobs, economic development opportunity that was complementary and consistent with the vision and the land management that's being proposed. And that was well received by our partners here, and they agreed that that would be a good use depending on the types of uses that would go in. And we would continue to work that dialogue to understand what we would need as the community. When I say we, the Tenino community as the EDC is helping the city through this endeavor. So I'm really excited about that, and we thought like the second proposal back was definitely in line with what we had talked about, and we were very happy with that and felt that could be a win-win. And then coming here today to talk through the opportunities and the benefits of this. The last question I have, and it may address Commissioner Edwards' concern, is I believe, Brian, that the map included the rest of the lower prairie area, I think, on the initial exhibit. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But that was also a pristine area, I think, for the gopher habitat. It's currently not included. Is that true?
No, it was not included on our original map, but
Okay.
you do make a very good point in that a survey was done this last spring, I believe, and that area had the highest density of pocket gopher mounds on it. Why did we draw the line the way we did was each grant has different scoring criteria. The grant that we're currently applying for, you get more points for the more diverse habitats that are included. So it was beneficial to include part of the prairie, part of the forest, and there's some really awesome picturesque wetlands up on the upper hill. And all that was part of the strategy of applying for this particular grant. The same would hold true for future grants, which we originally were intending to apply for, is that by being able to include all those diverse habitats in a subsequent grant application, if we get this grant, it gives us match for a federal grant was the strategy. I'm hearing from you that maybe federal dollars isn't what you'd like to see, and we can continue to talk about that, but.
Well, only in a portion, I would say. I mean, just.
Right.
We haven't clarified that completely.
Yeah.
But if we can't benefit from those federal dollars, we want to purchase good habitat as well. That's
Sure.
kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
So the reason I wanted to clarify that, I think there could be an opportunity because that's well over, 150 to 200 acres there, I believe. And that is some really good land that could meet maybe the objective of the HCP, so that this proposal isn't taking all that off as far, using state and federal tax dollars to purchase. So just wanted to put that out there that is in an unincorporated area of the county. It's not in the corporate limits. So whether or not that goes forward with that, but I think there's opportunities there as we work forward in a group to partner on this, that I think there could be a win-win for everybody. Thanks.
Can I just do a quick follow-up to that? So just, this land has been under discussion by many. I know Dr. Barnett has talked to many, many people over the years, and he's been wanting to sell, and there's been many scenarios of what could happen here. I almost don't want to say this out loud and jinx it, but this could be the dream right here. Like, as Mayor Fournier said, for Tenino, it'd be nice to keep the rural character and it's one of the most picturesque pieces of land in the county, in the world, sorry, yes, near the center of the universe.
Well, the center of the universe is tonight.
Yes, right. So, but the idea that this, all the backcountry could be opened up for hiking and horseback riding and hunting, the idea that, it could become this tourist destination where Tenino's already really excelling at creating tourist destinations in partnership with the county and working on their park. With the Bountiful Byway, the idea that leaving areas open for working lands and that even put, what's that? And then even that potentially that even maybe even some of the habitat, species habitat could still be working lands is a component. And so, but also leaving land that could be left for residential. Also the possibility of water rights being on the table, which Tenino needs in order to expand. And so, I mean, the whole picture is maybe a greatest case scenario that's a little scary to even talk about. Certainly an apology from the EDC that we didn't be more aggressive in including the county when we first started having these meetings with the city. We were very excited because we were involved in the Ag Business Park project and representing the city's interests and their economic development interests. And we hadn't really heard that the county was looking at this property as part of the HCP. But the thought that they could be, and that piece, or however it could all work out, could be part of the HCP, and I mean, and continue this idea of almost a dream pot of all these things coming together, it would be fantastic. So,
I would just say that one of the highest call volume that I receive, one of the highest call volume topics is access. Is recreational and for a variety of different recreations, but recreational access. We believe that under WDFW management that provides the widest range of opportunities for folks to get out and recreate, whether you're a consumer or whether you're a non-consumer. This would be a huge, I think, benefit to the people. I've got friends that live in Tenino and they all hunt. And this would be a really good opportunity to address exactly what we just talked about.
So this would be open to the public then?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, that's the big.
Yeah.
That's the exciting piece that we learned.
On the prairie portions, probably restricted. Restricted, sure.
Yeah. But for a large chunk of the uplands here, this would be really an opportunity. And then again, to work with, folks on potential trail systems and.
I'd like to just clarify something for the audience, because we are on live here. When you say open to the public, I don't think we're going to have an RV race around park, where there's that type of activity, walking around or looking around, or pedestrian traffic, or some of those kind of things. It's going to be restricted, I think, is what Brian said on the whole piece, is my understanding.
Yeah, we have some land restrictions and non-motorized access typically, but that certainly, potential for mountain biking and horseback riding and things like that are a real potential. So.
We have a large campground right there in Tenino, and this will be connected by the bicycle trail.
Sure.
So I mean, it's to me, it's the total package. You want to camp, you want to ride your bicycle down to the winery, and then go meander through the forest. People dig it.
So you've sorted out your issues then between WDFW and Tenino. What do we need to do now to kind of move this ahead that might be beneficial to our community?
Yeah, certainly, I believe there is an opportunity for the county to partner down the road. I don't think we can get a document in place before July 16 to determine the roles and responsibilities to how the county can partner and the level of partnership the county can have. What I understand is certainly a letter of support is the first step, and we can probably work, if you have a draft letter for you to send me, we can just craft that in terms of supporting this effort. And waiting until September of this year until we know how the scoring criteria goes, whether this project moves above the funding criteria, that is when we need to start working on the details of this potential partnership. Because I do believe that although there may be some restrictions in terms of how we can use mitigation for federal, the state purchases, I think by a partnership, I think will open up the door for us to access some of the mitigation sites that we have. And also listening to this lower area that perhaps may be available as a primo pocket gopher habitat is something we also may consider. And that goes, I believe, in alignment to the overall objective of the state's Fish and Wildlife. So I think that's probably the next steps that we need to take is coming up with a letter of support, hopefully signed by this Friday. And then through the process is maybe through your connections to your lobby to the RCO as to the importance of this purchase. As you can see, it's not just one jurisdiction, it's the city of Tenino, and the Economic Development Council behind this effort really brings a level of importance how important it is to the whole region, this particular endeavor.
So I'll ask the mayor and then John and Aslan and Perry, do you have any issues or concerns or comments regarding, because you've sorted out some issues, do you have any concerns or comments regarding the county also getting involved in such an endeavor with WDFW?
I love the idea of you guys getting involved because it just makes sense. I want you guys to get involved with this whole area, including our ag park.
Microphone.
Ah.
We would like to hear that comment. You started with we love.
Yeah, we love it. I mean, we really we love the county. We love you guys are huge partners for us, and we work very well together. I think like Aslan said, this is a oddly dreamy scenario, and we want you guys to be our partners on this and Fish and Wildlife, and we want to be partners with you on the ag park and Tenino's economic development, and you are. We're not. I'm not just dreaming for it to happen. You guys are right there making it happen. So it's natural. It's.
Hang on, let me get the rest of their comments in. Any other comments?
Want to go to John?
Oh. John will jump in, and I want to hear from Josh too.
Thank you for the opportunity, commissioners. Tenino is enthusiasm for this project is second only to the Ag Industrial Park. You heard from Mayor Fournier that when we were presented with the original memo, we had to catch our breath. But then as you start reading it, and certainly as we sat down to start talking about it, every important point in Tenino's comprehensive plan is directly in line with what they want to do. Whether it's recreational use of the land, agritourism, conservation, both flora and fauna, water rights, and the potential to reuse the reclaimed water that Tenino produces and currently is not using. This potential is enormous. It would be a shame for us not to conclude it.
Josh, do you haven't said anything yet?
So I just say from the perspective of community planning and economic development, our department, as a Thurston County department, supports the direction of the Board of County Commissioners. One of the things that I think our staff could do is some research on the map in those two different areas, the area outlined in yellow, and then the extra area in terms of what is the prairie habitat potential, and redefine those acreages. So we've got some work to do, and we're happy to partner.
All right, thank you. Gary? Oh, I'm sorry.
So I won't add too much to that. There are times where it seems like something really bad happens and we get all excited about that or whatever. And like I have learned to take a deep breath, and you never know, it could turn out. So it's like, last week we were getting kind of calls from the county commission, like, what's happening, what's going to go on? And then now I feel like, oh my God, this is an amazing opportunity for all of us together. So, and I just, beyond just those mentioned here around the table who are in partnership, I mean, the Ag Business Park has become like a lightning rod for support. At this point, we probably have 50 different organizations and jurisdictions supporting a project, and when it comes to something like the RCO, we have some muscle that we might be able to help. We have people in the governor's office watching, saying, can we help? We have friends on both sides of the aisle in both the House and the Senate who have been supporting the Ag Park project. We have friends all the way down into Lewis County who are supporting the Ag project, producers and businesses along with chambers of commerce and jurisdictions. And then, recently USDA came out for a tour and said, once you get money from us, you can come back and get more money from us. And we want to be there. We want to be part of this project. We want to be there for the ribbon cutting. And so we really have, we have direct money from the port. We have, we have money from the state. It looks like we do have money from the federal government coming in for the Ag Park. We're going back to TransAlta. We can go back to the state because we've already got state money. So it feels like, these two projects aren't necessarily directly connected, but we can leverage. So
Well, I think just for the record, to be fair, when I called the mayor last week, I didn't sound like my hair was on fire. Maybe it was portrayed. Kind of close, maybe. But
Sorry.
He wasn't referring to your phone call to me. It
Oh,
might have been
okay.
a different phone call he got from somebody else.
It wasn't even me who got phone calls, it was my boss.
Must have been, okay. Yeah, go ahead, you had something?
Well, I would just following up on Aslan, including support from Thurston County. You failed to mention that. We're behind you 100%, on this whole process as well. And leveraging is a big portion of what we're trying to do. And with that in mind, I would say that, you folks made a deal, you got a little forewarning, more than we had, and you carved out a little spot, hey, this is gonna work for our deal, let's take that out. Well, I'm wondering if we're probably talking about another 60 acres of that prime prairie habitat there, if we could end up even carving that out, so we made that purchase at an additional point down the road, that we don't lose the ability, because we're still not sure about what is eligible and what is not eligible for mitigation. That's still an issue. And because you do have kind of an island out, maybe you can make that just a little bigger is all I'm saying, or at least, so when we write your letter of support, it's recognized the intent that we've got as trying to do more than do less. That's kind of where we're coming from. And where we could also get a larger benefit, and maybe you could take a little bigger chunk out of the top or something and leave a little more, because we do have to work within these perimeters of restriction as we move forward. Now, we don't know exactly what the rules are and what authority really runs that, but boy, this is such a good spot to purchase that bigger property rather than those individual small little chunks that, yeah, they meet the legality issue, but we want to do this right. So that's kind of where I'm coming from on.
And that's where Josh comes in.
Yeah.
But you want something perhaps in the letter.
Well, something to at least address that, so that we're not all of a sudden, well, you can't get any benefit here. We don't care what you do. You're stuck with the swamp over here, or that's where we're at. And that's how come. Hair on fire, you should have been here on the 3rd. Because we were really caught off guard on this whole thing. So,
Yeah, and I apologize for that. Like you said, we're not quite sure what happened with the first version of the letter that we sent. But as I mentioned earlier, including a portion of the prairie and the forest and the other habitats was important for our scoring. I think the approach that I'd like to take right now is to leave these lines about where they're at. But I would add that up until the day we sign a deal with a landowner, we have that flexibility. So that gives us a lot of time to work out those details with you and your staff.
Okay.
All right. Perry, did you have something else?
No, I was just going to say that we do want, I think the partnership with the Thurston County is paramount. Looking forward to that. It makes this whole project, I think, have more energy and synergy behind it. I think we can score better by having this a multi-jurisdictional approach that meets the community needs, both the city, the state level, and the county. And as a person growing up in Tenino, family there for 40 years, I know what this means to the community, to do something like this and to bring jobs back that were lost and to create, and I'm talking now about the ag park, but this is all part of the equation. And I think if we can get this going, the momentum, we've got the industrial park moving behind it, I think it's a really good opportunity for all the communities. So thank you.
Just one clarification.
Go ahead.
Right across the road from this potential purchase is the Cullen Ranch. And I know the Department of Agriculture, over at the federal level, is very much in support of working lands. The whole ag process is very much in support of working lands. So However, we can make that work, so some of it can be working lands, and I can tell you that, I don't know exactly what gophers like, but I mean, they like carrots. So if we raised carrots, or if we kept the Scotch broom down with pasturing a sheep once in a while, or, I mean, we can figure out quite a few things. And Brian, I like your comment about that we can make those maybe final adjustments later on, but at keeping that in mind, because the ongoing cost of maintenance of property over the next 30 years without the working lands concept in there becomes a bit prohibitive as well. So we're just kind of all in this game together. I am so glad that this all came together right here today, because it was kind of hair on fire on the 3rd, I will tell you. I didn't have any hair to burn.
My hair wasn't on, mine wasn't on fire either.
Yeah. Okay.
But just so you know, we did add the working lands concept to the application for the RCO portion of this as well. So that is something that's actually included in the grant proposal. And I don't know what.
We really stressed that at our first meeting, was that there be available working lands, whether livestock, and and their staff were like, we've got studies that say gophers and livestock love each other. We support that. There was no, conceptually. I mean, that
I don't know if the word love was in it.
Yeah, lots of love. But I mean, it was pretty cool. I mean, there was very little apprehension towards any what I would have thought would have been off the wall ideas.
Okay. Anyway. This is a love fest with Tenino, obviously, and the EDC, and with DF or WDFW.
That's our new motto.
Yeah. So, Ramiro, you want to capitalize all this and wrap it up?
Yeah. First of all, I'd really like to thank you all. I mean, with such a short notice, and we exchanged phone calls and emails. So I know that this has been a priority for you as well as a priority for the county. And at least from my point of view, I can probably speak for the commission as well, because it's been a very productive meeting, very helpful, understanding what is it that this purchase is all about. I do believe it is an incredible opportunity to partner with all of you, the county to partner. And so the first steps that we need to do is develop a letter of support. So I'll work with Josh to develop the letter of support. Hopefully we can get that signature done and completed by this Friday, and I'll send it your way. And the next step will be to hopefully wait as to how the scoring is successful, hopefully by September of this year. And at that point is when we get into the details as to how the partnership with the county will be. I do believe at this point it doesn't make any sense to parcel what you have in mind, because it makes it a much stronger application, including the habitat component. And not to say that down the road, this continue to be the same, and we just parcel out, and perhaps the county can access that through a purchase. So I think there is this, as I understand, the opportunities for partnerships is wide open. And I really like your statement, Perry, in terms of going from Tenino, bringing jobs back, and your perspective, Mayor. I think there is an incredible opportunity for partnership, and the county certainly needs to be part of that.
Typically, you get the last word, but no, you don't today. Go ahead, then I'll add something.
Okay. Well, again, commissioners, mayor, and staff, EDC, I really appreciate the opportunity here. The constituents that are in your jurisdiction are the constituents that are in our jurisdiction, and they expect us to work together and address all the issues that we've talked about today. So, I feel really I'm confident that we can find some opportunities here to meet these needs, and I really appreciate the opportunity to come here today and talk and establish this relationship, and I'm glad we were able to do that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, I wish the chair could be here, Bud Blake, but he's out of state.
Okay.
But he has been watching and listening, and so his executive assistant, Aaron Berkeley, has a comment.
Commissioner Blake wanted me to thank everyone for coming today. He really wishes that he was here for the conversation, and he wanted everyone to know how excited he is and happy about the proposal.
If he was, he could send a selfie.
Dr. Barnett is sitting behind me, and he's been quiet, and I wondered if you folks would like to invite him to make a comment if he chose to do so.
Doc, why don't you come on up, please, sir? If you'd like to.
Well, first of
You have
all,
the right
I'd
to remain
like
silent.
to let everybody know that it would be of
Please,
interest.
please,
Phone,
microphone, please. Microphone, please.
I'd like everybody involved to know that I would be appreciated if you could CC me some of the things go on, because this is the first time I've been introduced to what's happened recently. And I have an old map, but I would like a copy of the updated map. Problem solved.
How soon would you like it?
And thank you so much for
Thank
coming,
you.
Dr. Barnett. We greatly appreciate that. as
Okay,
well.
but just somebody, maybe one person from each group, there's 2 or 3,
Mike him.
keep me informed.
All right, we'll keep you informed.
And you'll send me an email. You have my card.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
All
That's
right.
it.
Thank you, folks. And we are now done for the morning.
Done for the morning.
Done for the morning.
Okay,
Yes, thank
back
you.
here too.
You don't have to go home, you can't stay here.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.